Congregational meeting. Actually, glad you can go to the perfect. Oh yeah. Technology working. I like it. Okay. So as you can see from the agenda, we have a kind of a packed agenda for today. We're going to hear not only from our treasurer, Nancy, who will give a financial update on the church for this year, as well as our budget for next year. We're going to be voting on not only our budget, but also on some new board members. And then we're going to be hearing updates from the staff, as well as a bunch of our leaders. So hopefully today you'll leave here with a good understanding as to where the church currently is and where the church hopes to be going next year. So that's the goal. But anyways, obviously I want to first open in a word of prayer. Dear Lord, again, we thank you, Lord, so much for this beautiful day, Lord. I thank you that we can just worship, here so freely, Lord. We thank you for our wonderful pastors here, Lord, the leaders you'll be seeing here today who give so much of their time to, again, to strengthen this church, to strengthen its impact it has in its community, Lord. So again, just please, just keep this church thriving, Lord, and to be that beacon on the hill that you call us to be. So again, we just thank you for being our Father, Lord, and watching over us and just giving us the wisdom in order to direct this church. So in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, first order of business is always the most exciting because everyone remembers what we said 6 months ago. But we do, need to at least approve the minutes from 6 months ago. So there's a copy there in the back if you want to reflect on your recollection of what happened then. But I just need to call for someone to approve the minutes. Or first, does anyone have any changes? I guess I probably should at least ask that. Seeing no flailing arms, anyone care to offer a motion to approve the minutes? I do. All right, in the back, great. Anyone second? All right, good job, Kathy. All right, so minutes are approved. All right, so we're flying through this agenda, huh? All right, so now I'm going to call up Nancy, Nancy is going to first tell us about how we're doing this year in terms of our finances. And then once you get a picture of how this year is going, she'll then go into the picture as to how we're budgeting for next year. So I will turn it over to Nancy.
Good morning, or good afternoon. Good afternoon, yes. So this time last year, when we were getting ready to approve our 2024 budget, and I was talking about our performance in 2023, this is what my note said. Based on our current trends in general fund income, it does not appear we will reach our 2023 income budget. And we actually did. We exceeded it by over $50,000. So there you go. That's how reliable my my predictions may be. And that is not the case in 2024. Our expectation for this year is that we will exceed our income budget. We will also underrun our budget on expenses. And I don't have these notes, and I can't see that way in the back. But right now, I'll have to look at the actual numbers rather than the words. As of the end of September, I don't have our October results yet, we had a budget of $875,000 of income for this year. We have actually, as of that month, last month, achieved $714,000 just of general fund income. And if you look at the actual numbers, there are some other line items of income types, some designated income, interest income. So altogether, it is about $730,000. So as I prepare a 2025 budget, I usually project to see where I think we're going to end up this year. It is very likely we will end up this year based on giving trends we've seen in the past, and with three more months, that we will exceed $1 million. So that is wonderful and blessed news. That is excellent news. On the expense side, we have stayed within budget in almost all categories. The few categories where we've exceeded relate and have driven our bottom line results really result from some capital and repair needs that were undertaken just in the last couple of months. August, September seem to be very busy months for our trustees, and so I've been advised to refer to line items. So if you have the actual numbers, budget in front of you, these are line items 152 and 153. We all noticed the beautiful parking lot that we have that was, restriped and filled in, and also the parking lot or the driveway at the parsonage, which is owned by the church, for those who are new, also was done. There was also a good deal of painting and other types of light repairs done. So those two categories, the number in italics, if you're looking at your budget sheet, they exceeded our budget. I'm going to move those items, some of those items anyway, into our capital line item budget, which is line 160. They're not true capital items, but they are certainly large expense items, so we're going to categorize them as capital. So altogether, jumping down to the bottom line, we had $776,000 worth of expenses and capital expenditures. So we have a deficit of about $45,000, $45,603. My expectation is that by the end of this year, that deficit is going to narrow because the last 3 months of the year we'll continue to get income. We should not have any major expenses in the last 3 months. So my expectation is we will end the year perhaps close to break even, and that would be a wonderful blessing. So, and then just as a little background, we do have a stock account. We receive stock gifts, and we invest. We sell any stock gifts we receive, and then we invest them in treasuries and CDs, and we get small amounts of revenue from that. And the balance in that account right now is about $375,000. So we have, in addition to, cash on hand, we also have that cash reserve, which backs us up for operations for the next several months if we need it. So it's been a wonderful year. Very blessed to see the numbers kind of coming back to levels that we saw before COVID and recession and inflation and all of those worries that we had over the last few years. Are there any questions on 2024, on the current year? Okay.
And for people who are dialing in, or not dialing, I'm showing my age. For those of you streaming in, my cell phone there and also my email. I'm checking my phone for any questions from people online. But any questions for Nancy on here? So Nancy, I guess in sum, we have a $40,000 deficit, which hopefully, due to end of the year giving, should hopefully be erased or close to erased, and we have almost $375,000 on cash on hand.
375.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we are a blessed congregation, and I think we've been seeing it certainly in all of the activities that we have, in attendance at church, all this. All of the outreach. And I always have to remind myself when I do these budgets that we're not here to make money. We're here to save souls. And when you look at our budget and our expenses, many of them are administrative related. They are what we need in order to be able to carry the mission that we've been given. And we're blessed that we have such strong hearts. It's not only the money, it's the time, it's the prayers, and we're blessed in all those ways. So, all right.
All right, so seeing no questions and seeing none online, we'll move on to the 2025 budget.
2025. Hard to believe. All right. So for 2025, normally I'm very conservative when I look at income. And so I feel that I am also being conservative again in our 2025 budget. So I indicated a few minutes ago that I believe that we are going to reach about $1 million in our income, in our general fund giving this year. So looking at the budget for 2025, that is the last column on your sheet with all the numbers on it. So for 2024, I'm fairly confident we'll get to $1 million. It might be as much as $1.1 million, depending on what that end of year bump might be. So we are budgeting. This is not my numbers, by the way. This is Finance Committee met. The Executive Board has reviewed these and so on. I mean, it is a group effort. So we feel fairly confident that we would have with a budget of $1,050,000. In other words, about $50,000 increase of where we might end up for this year. So that is the general fund income. With some of the other revenue lines, it comes to about $1.1 million. Expenses, obviously the one item or category of our budget that is the most significant is salaries and benefits. Generally, with inflation the way it is and with the trends that we've seen with other companies as well as nonprofits, as well as teachers in the area we're looking at, we have budgeted a 4% increase for salaries and then some modest increases for the benefits that go along with salaries. Many of you know that Shelley Matheson is planning to retire, and so we have included in the salary category a position similar or the same as Shelley's at her current salary level. We don't know, obviously, where that might be, nor do we know what the benefits might be that are associated with that position, but it would be a full-time church administrator position. So that is included in this budget. Also included in this budget, actually by not so much as an addition, is a communications liaison. That would be a part-time position of about 10 hours a week at the current rate that we pay our part-time individuals, because we really feel this is something the Executive Board has talked about for years and tried in a variety of ways to fulfill that. You know, there's so much going on in the congregation, and we need someone to kind of pull it all together, both internally as well as externally. We don't have a candidate for this position, but we've included that amount of money in the budget. However, it is not an increment to the budget. It is merely taking some of the funds that we haven't used in the cleaning position and assigned it to this different position. So that's not an increase at all to the budget. We've also made some modest increases in some of the worship categories. Nothing terribly significant. And so with that income budget, let me just go over it. I do have a few notes here. So I'll refer now to line 107. So because of the communications liaison position, we have a modest increase in advertising and social media. We definitely want to enhance our social media presence. That seems to be the way of the world right now. I've indicated that there are increases in the salaries and benefits of, on average, about 4%. The one area that I'm not too sure about is our medical insurance. Depending on the person that we hire, that may result in somewhat more of an increase than is usual in medical benefits, so I've increased that by about 10%. On the music ministries, the sanctuary choir, we've included, the biggest number there is the refurbishing of the handbells. We all love the handbell performances. Mark says they do need to be cleaned every now and then, and it's fairly expensive, but it was done a long time ago, and it really needs to be done again. So we have increased the budget for the handbells by the $3,200 estimated expense there. Nothing, I don't think, terribly. The others all relate to basically increases either in the price of the service, or it could be increase in the expansion of the ministries themselves. One thing I will note is on line 556, Vacation Bible School, that I know that the VBS team is looking at perhaps expanding the time of that, and that might include an increase in costs for lunch if we make it an all-day or at least a longer day program. So therefore, the bottom line is 1.1 million, 1,157,000. It does result in a deficit, 47,000 and change. Do we want a deficit budget? No, we don't. Could we have $1.1 million in income next year? Yes, and then we wouldn't have a deficit budget. But we are always conservative in our income numbers because we never know. This is, this is always a volunteer organization. We have been blessed, and we trust the Lord always to keep us. But we do want to be fairly conservative as we project into next year. So that is the bottom line. Again, we have the $375,000 in cash. I do want to mention, as we're nearing year end, that if people are planning to make any year-end gifts and you have appreciated stocks, whether it's in a retirement account or particularly in a tax-deferred account, please roll it over. You can contact Matt Lipkowski for information on that. He is our financial secretary. I do not actually deal with the giving. There's a wall between me and the giving itself, other than the final numbers. But it's to your advantage, tax-wise, if you hold on to the securities and transfer them into our account, which is right now at Charles Schwab. I know that there have been some questions about this already. All right, are there any questions about the 2025 budget? So boring, I know. Not as exciting as the reports to come. Yeah, Warren.
We'll have two people paying at the same time, like maybe a month or two.
I can take that one. We take that. Yeah. So the question was, with Shelley retiring, what are our plans in terms of transition? And I think as soon as we, identify and someone accepts the position, then I think, Warren, to your point, there will be a transition period. Obviously, there are a lot of, things this person wants to know about our church. So yeah. So no, the plan would be probably a month or two transition, so the person can then learn all the idiosyncrasies with our church, so they can then hit the job running. Yeah, Bob.
When will her retirement happen?
As soon as we find a replacement.
In 2025, next month?
Well, like I said, we need someone to accept the position first.
She's going to stay on until...
Yeah.
I can speak as I work so close. We all work closely with Shelley, but I do, at least on the financial side. And she has big shoes to fill. Yeah. So we really want an excellent candidate.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Any other questions for Nancy on the budget? Okay. So seeing none and not seeing any online? No, not yet. So, okay. So on the ballot is going to be a checkbox for voting for that. In addition, we have a slew of candidates for positions. As you can see, we have deacon, deaconesses, elder board, executive board. Oh, thank you, Nancy. Missions board and trustee board candidates. So, the nominating committee has selected, these people for your consideration. So, please also on your ballot vote for the nomination for the various boards. And I'm looking at the list. I'm really happy to see there's some new names up there, so people getting involved in leadership who haven't been involved before, so it's a great thing. All right, so I'm going to ask, I think hopefully everyone has, I'll give you one more minute to vote on your ballot, and then I'll ask Dennis to collect the ballots, as I also want to give thanks, right, to our nominating committee. Brian, Kathleen, Chris, Janet, Brian Smith, and Warren. Great job this year. As you can kind of see, we found a large contingent of really, really good people willing to serve this church. So again, thank you so much for all your efforts this year. All right, so as the budgets are getting collected, their terms are commensurate with the terms that they have on the board. Hold on, I gotta go back. All right, darn. Sorry. So as you can see here, so for the, obviously, Karen's position is a 3-year one, but for Carol, for Chris, one more, my apologies. There we go, all right. Thanks. For Karen, it's a 3-year position. For Carol, Chris, Barry, and Jim, it's 4 as long as they're on that board. So, so if they have 1 year remaining or 3 years remaining, that would be how long they'll sit for. Okay. Any other questions on the nomination? So again, thank you, everyone. Especially thank you for the. It was working so well before. Oh, you know what? Never mind.
Tell Dennis to come up.
No, I'm looking at my laptop, which of course is not controlled by this. Okay. Anyways, yeah. So that's getting collected. All right. So first, I'm going to call up Noah. We're going to go through the staff updates, and Noah will give the update on the youth.
Yeah. Well, thanks for letting me go first. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. We've had a number of things going on within the youth group, and we're very, very pleased with what God has been doing with the youth group. It's been really cool to be a part of it. These are a list of goals that I've had for our last meeting, and I kind of want to talk about a little bit how we met those things, and by no means is this the only list of goals that I have and only things that I do, but these are some of the things that I like to highlight and that I wanted to make a point, especially for 2024. So with the first thing I wanted to talk about is creating a more loving community. We've had, really the culture hasn't been as healthy as I wanted it to be. And I realized there needed to be more structure and more guidelines. And so I made a list of guidelines that I also expressed to the parents, as well as to our leaders, as well as to the students, in hopes that this is what we expect from everybody who shows up. And a lot of that includes just respecting one another, being fair to one another, and things like that. And I've seen quite a good group growing, and I'm thankful to say that our group's grown to about 25 every time we meet for youth group. And so I've never been a numbers guy. I've never been about numbers. I've always been about hearts and lives change. But it is encouraging to see that students want to bring their friends, and they also want to come from clubs like FCA that I get to be a part of, and I'm thankful I'm a part of. So God has been blessing that ministry. It's been really awesome to see how those have been growing. And so that's one thing we can just praise God for. So that's really cool. Getting students more involved in their community, that could be the church community here, whether that's serving and other aspects as well. And I have another bullet talking about service opportunities as well. So those two are kind of linked together a little bit, but this includes encouraging them to be part of the events like Feed My Starving Children, or later on in the year we're going to do the Philadelphia Project. We've tried that in the past. We didn't have enough signups for it. We ended up not going, but we're going to try again in December and see if we can get that up and running. And then also something we've really wanted to see was more involvement with our parents, and just more care, that they want their students to grow. They want to see them, their families and their family life to be healthy and growing. And so we've seen an uptick in the parents that are interested in being part of not just our parent meetings, but also interested in having me disciple their students. I meet with students regularly one-on-one, and there's been a lot of parents I've been able to talk with about their kids, about their families, and what's been going on in their lives. So I've been encouraged by that, because there's a lot of parents that they do see that there is a very hostile world that they are sending their kids to be a part of every single day. And so they are understanding that there needs to be somebody involved in their lives to help combat that and help to identify some of the major issues that are going on in our lives. And so I've been really blessed to get to know a lot of families and be a part of their lives as well. And then also seeing parents involved with our intentional parenting series that we've been doing together as well. And that will come to a close as we end our last parent meeting in December. Again, I mentioned service opportunities. I'm very thankful to see we have a lot of students that are involved in the tech booth, a lot of students that want to be involved in other places like in the nursery and areas like that. That's been really cool to see the kids getting involved, but we definitely want to grow that and make them more involved in other areas. And then as it's been a goal in our church, last year I wanted to kind of bleed that into this year as well, is a focus on evangelism. Again, we often send our students into a hostile environment within their public schools where Christianity is often not welcomed. But this is a great opportunity that they are placed in to invite the gospel to their relationships, to their friendships, and bring the gospel to all these people. And so I've seen a number of students inviting their friends to church, a number of students being bold and sharing their faith, and that has been such an encouragement to me. We've also made it a focus to go through a series about evangelism and sharing our faith, but also a series talking about other faiths and how to effectively communicate the gospel to a person of a different faith, because obviously their worldviews are widely different. And so how do we even have those conversations with someone who's a Muslim or someone who's a Buddhist or Hindu? It can be a quite tricky thing, especially for a teenager, but we've been able to go through that series and it has been widely received, and we are thankful that it's gone so well. And so we've we had our last week of that series 2 weeks ago, and now we're moving on to why we can trust the Bible. So we're thankful for where the youth group's headed. Keep us in your prayers. We got Reverb coming up. We got about 21 students signed up, possibly 22. Some people sign up last minute. We'll see. Maybe 22, but 21 kids that are going, and many of them who have been invited by friends, and I'm sure many of them who do not know Christ or have a relationship. And so there they will hear the gospel. Last year we saw incredible fruit from this ministry, so pray for that event. Pray that God does a work in the lives of our students. That's all I got.
All right. That's a lot. Any questions at all for Noah? Hey, Noah, you mentioned the Philadelphia project.
Yeah.
So what exactly, I guess, use a 30,000-foot view,
Sure.
what's involved?
Yeah, so Philadelphia Project really, it's a ministry that obviously happens in the city of Philadelphia, and they usually have weekends or just day events where youth groups and just any groups can go and help local churches, whether it be building projects or evangelism type projects or VBSs, things of that nature. We go in and help and give them the resources, and they also go into less fortunate families' homes, help rebuild homes and things like that. They're very hands-on, and most likely we would be coming alongside of a church and helping out with whatever needs they have, whether it be a physical need within the building or outreach type event that they would have us do as well. I don't plan on doing a full weekend with them. We have a lot of trips coming up, especially within the winter into the summer as well, and so I don't want to overload our students with a ton of trips. So I want to make it a day trip and make sure that that's possible. So yeah, that's like a 30,000-foot view.
Okay,
or I guess
cool.
maybe a little closer.
Perfect. All right. Any other questions for Noah? All right. Well, thanks so much. Keep up the good work.
Thanks.
All right. Pastor B, I think you're next up.
I'd like to say I'm really excited about the things that are happening at our church, and I'm so thankful for your volunteer ministry. We couldn't do what we do if you weren't so dedicated. And so, sincerely, thank you so much for that. We have a wonderful reputation in our community. I go to the Municipal Alliance and the community leaders meetings. One of the only pastors that go, unfortunately, but they look at us as being a healthy place, a place that is a good part of their community. They get excited about Feed My Starving Children, our food pantry, all the other things that we do to try to make our community a better place. So it's really a great place to be right now. I think we're poised for God to continue to use us as we go forward. I talked about the ongoing preaching and the work involved in preaching and teaching. I'm very thankful for those opportunities to do that. I'm going to turn sideways here if I can. We're looking to recruit leaders. We need more leaders. We need to get younger in our leadership. So we've offered one leadership class. Will and I co-taught it. We'll do that again. We had some mentoring of leaders. If you feel called, men or women, to be leaders, that you feel like you want to be in a position to help drive the vision of our church, we really could use you to step forward in that area. The pastor's ministerium is near to my heart. There are some very fine men in the ministry in this area. I meet with 4 of them monthly. One church may come to our Thanksgiving Eve service, and very fine church, very fine pastors. And so we want to do more things together. I go there to encourage and be encouraged and to learn from other pastors who are doing full-time ministry as well. I work with the security and safety team. We really, a really debt of gratitude to Yvette. Yvette has she's a grant writer when we couldn't do it. And so we've got all the paperwork in to get between $50,000 and $150,000 of just security measures for our church. And so we're really excited about what that would mean in keeping us safe in these very difficult times. I guess there's a next slide. Or is that it? Is that it?
No, it's next slide. It's up.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
That's
okay.
I know. It's all right. I should close this.
Don't do that to me, Bill. All right. I'm really excited about support groups. I see the value of people coming to a place where they can find help and to unburden themselves. We have 5 people coming to our church because of Grief Share alone. We reinstituted divorce care. Ann is my co-leader on that. She does a great job. We will be offering that very shortly. Grief Share, again, we'll be offering, and some people that have taken it before want to take it again. So we're really excited about that. The Lean On Me group that Tanya Robinson really leads, I just help her, has a real place for people that are struggling with various issues in life. And I'm still working on that Parents in Pain support group. There's a lot of parents out there that are struggling with kids that are struggling in one way or another, and I see the burden on their first faces Sunday after Sunday, but I need a good curriculum for that. Missions committee, missions board, Donna, Barry, do a great job, and I'm really honored to serve alongside them. We have Persecuted Church Sunday coming up next week. And then the Municipal Alliance community leadership meetings, all those things that we do that they can't say, gee, that's a dumb idea to feed starving children. So they go along. It's a wonderful idea. And people from the group have come. So thank you for all that you do for making our church, I think, healthy. So any questions for me? Yeah. Right. Yeah, good question, Bob. The Mercy team really is, Amanda is a big help with that, is that we're looking for people more gifted that may not have the title of deacon or deaconess to go visit people, to come alongside people. And not just once, but maybe the same person over and over again to establish a relationship. For instance, there was a couple here first service that are now going to see Lenny Siracusa. They visited him on Wednesday with me. They're going to go back weekly and visit him. So it's what they love to do. They're neither deacon nor deaconess, but they're people with the gift of mercy. Yeah. And that's this coming Sunday. 7 o'clock probably doesn't work, right? But we could try for a different time. But it's this coming Sunday, and we'll ask people to be involved. And again, if you've got a heart for just visiting people, loving on people, even if it's by phone, one of our greatest assets is Joe Renda, who uses the phone to call people. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, any other questions for Pastor Brian? All right, not seeing any. We're going to move on to Pastor Joel. Thank you so much, Pastor Brian. Oh, you come on, Joel. Thanks.
Well, they're distracted. You are focused. Noah made reference to it earlier, and Steve will make reference to this during his elder report. But certainly the goals that you see there on the screen are just a small subset of the many goals that all of us as pastors and elders have put together in our strategic plan, and even many of our ministry boards are involved in that as well. So know that if you ever want to see the gritty detail of our strategic plan and all the objectives and all the goals and these types of things, you can talk to me about that, talk to Steve Nash about that. We'd love to get you a copy of that. But for the time's sake, I'm just going to give you 5 goals of many more that I presented back in April, I guess, as, let's say, primary goals I wanted to address in the coming year. The first of which is that I realized it was time for us to revamp our strategic plans in children's ministry and in men's ministry, and so that's something I set out to do over the summer. Summer's often a good time to sort of go back to the drawing board and think things through, and did that with men's ministry. Judy and I have been doing that with children's ministry as well. So that was done over the summer, and we're excited to see where some of our tweaks will lead. A lot of it still is the same, but I think we made some key tweaks that will help us along the way. Second goal I had that I presented in April is I wanted to add what I'm calling sort of a beginner level. You can think about it more like an investigating Christianity level to our adult discipleship ministry. And so if you think about our ministry, we have sort of our adult electives on a Sunday morning that generally speaking, I'd say are probably better suited for people who've been Christian for a little while, just by nature of what we talk about in those classes. Then I have 328 Academy, which is on Wednesday evenings, and that is a deep dive on a very specific topic. So for example, we just completed a class on Wednesday evenings, a 4-week class on Hinduism. And those who are part of that class will tell you, like, there was a lot of content, sort of almost drinking from a fire hose kind of stuff. But that's the goal of those classes, is to be content heavy. But what about those who come in and they're just new to the faith, or they're investigating the faith, they're not even sure where they stand? What class really meets them where they are? Well, that was a goal that I had. And I wanted to, initially I had planned to start that in the fall, but then I realized the fall was a bit crowded, and so I pushed that to January. But in January I am planning for us to start holding at least one Alpha course here. So it's a new believer / investigating Christianity course. And many of you have heard of the Alpha program. And I say up there, hopefully 2. And what I mean by that is that I want to have one in English, which I will lead and others will lead. But I'm hoping, and Christina Zhao has agreed to spearhead it, but she'll need some help. So if there's any Mandarin speakers out there, to have a Mandarin class as well. Because we have those in our community who speak Mandarin, and so we want to meet them where they are as well. And so 1, hopefully 2 Alpha classes starting in January. And I do want to emphasize that one also, because we're still building our team. In order to pull off an Alpha class, you need people who will be there for 11 weeks in a row in a group setting, just having discussions with people, building relationships with seekers. But you also need like a cooking team, because you're supposed to have a meal beforehand to sort of break bread together and build relationships. And so I'm not just looking for people who feel comfortable in a group setting talking. I'm looking for people who feel comfortable cooking for groups and these types of things. So I mentioned that to you just to commend that to your prayers and hearts. If you think any of those things could interest you, please let me know in the next month as I'm putting together these teams. So that we can launch in January with this Alpha course for new believers, and also be praying for new believers. And if you know anyone who is a new believer or a seeker, tell them about it. I'll have specifics on dates coming out, but it'll start mid-January. Third goal is I wanted to grow MEFC's small group ministry with a campaign either in the fall or in January. I think the campaign is going to take place in January, but without a campaign, as you see up there, God has grown our small groups. Since our last campaign in last fall, we had a campaign. Last fall, we grew from around 12 to 15, and then just over this year, God's grown us from 15 to 18. And so, frankly, the focus now is on filling the groups we have. We actually have a lot of groups, and a lot of groups looking for people. And so if you're someone who wants to get in a group and you haven't, let me know. I'm pretty sure I can find you one. But if you're also someone who is looking to lead a small group, I can certainly make that happen as well and connect you with the resources you need for that. So I want to fill those groups, those empty spaces in the coming months, and that'll probably be the focus of the campaign in January. I want to continue to equip and mobilize our church for evangelism. I have a workshop scheduled for November 25th on this, and also some more plans to come in 2025, so that's going. And I want to grow our participation in corporate prayer. Stay tuned for some of our prayer events we have planned for 2025. I have, for example, a day of prayer and fasting planned for early 2025. And then I'm talking with Missions Committee about having a particular missions-focused prayer event in the spring. And so we're really excited about mobilizing our church to pray. We need to be serious about prayer because that's how hearts change and that's how the world is changed. So again, those are 5 of many more goals, but 5 that are particularly near and dear to my heart. I'll take any questions you have about those or anything else.
Any questions for Joel? All right, Pastor Joel, thank you so much. All right, Mark, next. Oh, thank you. Let's put this down.
So you can read the screen behind me. I just want to highlight a few things. Since our last meeting, we were able to combine with Hopewell Presbyterian Church in May to do our first Handbell Festival concert, which was really cool. It was their handbell choir and our handbell choir. We did a piece that all of the ringers played together. We did some pieces on our own. We did some hymns, sang some hymns with the congregation, with brass and the bells and organ, and it was a wonderful afternoon. And so we're planning on hoping to do that again, and maybe increasing participation maybe by one more bell choir. Then we finished our season in June with our spring musicale, which is always a delight. We had music camp again. As you may remember, music camp we did not have for 2 years because of all of the COVID things, and then a year because the year after coming out of COVID, it seemed like families were very hesitant to have their kids get involved again. And so we've been in a rebuilding process. We've had it 2 years now. This last year, we had more kids than we did the year before. So it is slowly starting to build up. If you remember, we did have 2 weeks of it, and both weeks used to be full. So we're hoping that God gives us the increase and we can get back to that, if that's the plan that he has for us. But it was great. I just wanted to thank Dawn and Kelly and Cinderly and Corinne, who's our core leaders, did a great job. And the musical, if you've never been to a music camp show, you should try to come, because the musicals are really cute. This one was called "Oh Chicken of Little Faith," and it was about Chicken Little. Well, not about Chicken Little, but kind of mimicked Chicken Little. It had a lot of scriptural content to it. It was a really well put together musical. But almost every single chicken joke you could come up with was in this musical. It was really cute. It was a whole lot of fun. And then September, everything kicked off again, and all of the ministries are back into full gear. And we're so excited about the children's portion of music ministries. Both cherub choir and kids choir have seen an increase. In fact, kids choir has doubled from what it was just last year. So we're so excited about that. And because of that, Lisa Belizio and Kirsten Hobson came to me and said, we would really like Cleo to be, which is granddaughter and daughter, to be involved in some kind of bells. Can we see if we can get tone chimes back? They would be willing to lead it. So said, sure, let's put the word out and let's see if we have enough. So we had enough kids. We have about 5. A full choir is 8. So it's a good core. And they've been meeting every week. The girls are really excited about it. So we're hoping to grow that ministry back to its full potential also. So then looking, and just last Sunday, we had our 4 piano concert, which was amazing. Just thank Nancy, who's in the back, and Jen, who does not go to our church, but is associated with our church. She plays with us, and also Cinderly. It was a really great afternoon. It's probably the most well-attended one piano concert that we have done so far. So then looking ahead, We have a full slate of all the music concerts and events that we do. Full slate of all of the fellowship events, including bringing back the Great Soup Cook-Off, which is always a big hit, and bringing back the talent show, which was a huge hit last year. And so we're just planning for all of those things and hoping that the Lord blesses our plans. So do you have any questions for me? Oh, and one more thing. I wanted to, I don't know if Laura is here. Is Laura Nelson here? Nelson's here. I just really wanted to publicly thank both of you for what you do with the band. That we've really seen that develop over the past year. It's been great to have Keith on the guitar and Mariana join you in singing. Corinne also sings, and Dave on the drums. It really has filled out nicely, and you guys do a great job leading us in worship. So I just wanted to thank you and Laura for that. All right, any questions? Yes?
I just want to say, you do a wonderful job with the choir, the band, the choir. It really is inspiring for everybody in the congregation.
Thank
I
you.
just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Mark? Mark, thank you so much. Next, I remember to click at this time, is Judy to give an update on children's ministry.
Pastor Joel spoke about our strategic plan, and I just wanted to go over a couple things as it relates to children's ministry. First is our vision for children's ministry is to cultivate Christ-centered families so that MEFC might effectively reach across the aisle, street, and globe with the love and truth of Jesus Christ. Our motto is raising up the next generation of Christ's church. We have two key verses, one for the kids and one for the adult, for the parents. For the parents, it's Psalm 145:4. One generation shall commend your works to another and shall declare your mighty acts. For the children, it's 1 Timothy 4:12. Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for everyone in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. And our goals are fourfold: make disciples, equip parents, fortify the MEFC community with children's gifts, and champion volunteers. That's one of my goals. So besides what's up there, there were a couple highlights that I wanted to mention. Pastor Joel and I have been working on trying to equip parents, which is one of our goals. But so far, 2 of our workshops have not been well attended, and so we're trying to come back to the drawing board to figure out what should we do next, because we know how important it is to equip parents to disciple their children. The other thing I wanted to mention is VBS went really well this year. We had about 90 kids, and that wasn't 5th and 6th grade. We didn't have enough for 5th and 6th grade to go on the trips, but we had 90 kids, which was a great number I thought. And the gospel was presented multiple times. The other thing I wanted to highlight is a really neat group that I'm involved in. It's a small group, book group. It's for The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. We've been doing it with the 2nd through 6th graders during second service during children's church time. We go to a special place. The kids are so excited. And it's just brought a whole excitement for me reading the book, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I'm obviously not just reading the surface of the book, but I'm bringing out the biblical principles that C.S. Lewis intentionally put in each of the books. And so it's been a real blessing to have that. It's an 8-week, and we'll see how it goes if we continue with some more of the books later on next year. Any questions?
Any questions for Judy? Never too early to get them into C.S. Lewis. That's great.
Thank
All
you.
right. All right. Now we're going to go to the. Oh, darn! I keep on. I'll learn how to use this at one point. All right. Now we're going to go on to our board positions, and Steve's here to give the elder report. He has a build slide, and for some reason doesn't trust me.
There'll be a reason. Good afternoon, everyone. I cannot read that screen in the back, so I have it here. If you were excited about our bond building experience over the past 6 years, I have timed out. So this is my last congregational meeting for a while that I'll be speaking to you. So if you want that bond to continue, you'll have to seek me out individually. We continue, as you heard from all the pastors, we continue to work on the goals and objectives. It's a structured process. We have spreadsheets, all kinds of cool colors and things. So we continue to do that. This year we expanded it somewhat, and we included the other ministry boards. That's the deacons, deaconesses, and missions committee. We've asked them to look at the categories and provide some goals. So we're trying to build, every year we're trying to improve the process. There is significant turnover that's going to happen at the elder board this year. Ted, Dennis, and myself, we're hitting our 6-year max and we'll be leaving. On the ballot today, Vic and Jim are joining. Will is re-upping, thankfully. So you will have new elders starting in January. This slide is shorter than normal because I want to talk about a new subject and take up a couple more minutes of your time. But it's on the topic of succession planning. So to be clear, Pastor Brian is not announcing his retirement, but he has indicated to elders that he'd be stepping down from the senior pastor role in the next few years. That doesn't mean he wants to leave and be done. He's open. He's expressed an interest. If there are other roles, he just wants to be open to the church's needs, to God's leading, and all that. So there has been no timeline proposed for this. There's no plan. So I just wanted to be clear up front for that. But these are things now that we have to start thinking about. And even under the best circumstances, that's number 2, senior pastoral transitions are one of the most stressful periods in a church. That seems pretty self-evident. It is therefore prudent and necessary for the continued health of MEFC to explore options and seek God's will as we discover His timing and His person through a prayerful and thoughtful process in choosing our next senior pastor. Pastor Joel has expressed that he feels called to eventually be a senior pastor somewhere. And he has indicated that perhaps MEFC is the place that he might be being called to serve. And that presents, it's unique. We've never had this before. We've never promoted from within, as that concept would be. We've never had pastors give us this much timing to do a transition. So all these things are new to us, and we recognize that it's a unique opportunity. And the elders and pastors and other leaders in MEFC will be prayerfully seeking God's wisdom and guidance, the guidance that only God can provide, not as to only who will be our next senior pastor, but on the process and nature of the inevitable transition. 6. The result of this process will be a complete analysis of all the options before us, and we will present these options, not me. We will present these options at a regular or special congregational meeting sometime early next year for the congregation to ultimately decide how we will proceed. Of course, the way our Constitution is structured, the congregation decides who our next senior pastor will be. But we did want to explain the process, where we are, and be open as we can about it, and then come before you early next year with what we found, ideas, if all the moving parts that could be options for our church. And so that brings me to the last one. We know you pray for our church, but we would like you to pray specifically. First, pray for the next man that will be our senior pastor, whomever and wherever he may be, that God would be preparing him, his heart, and his family even now. Second, pray for your church leaders and entire pastoral staff as we embark on such an important process, that there would be clarity and humility as we seek God's will and wisdom in all things. And third, pray that God would be preparing the hearts of you, the congregation, all of you, for a season of change, that he would bless us with a spirit of unity, a sense of excitement, and vision for MEFC's future. And that is all I have. So are there any questions, either elder-specific questions or on this topic?
Any questions for Steve? Oh, you trust me with this? Brian's going to comment.
We are losing three really important men. Steve has led us for 6 years through some very COVID and some other things, and we're losing some really good men. And they will be very greatly missed. Ted Kakamadis has obviously been part of our team as well. Dennis, with his heart for outreach and things of that nature. So, we want to thank these gentlemen for all that they've done to make our church move forward in the last 6 years.
No, thank you so much, Steve, both for tonight as well as Brian said, for the last 6 years. It's been you're really great working with you in that role. Next, Amanda, deaconesses. She sprints across the, yeah.
Hi, everyone. You can see my screen behind me. Just two things I wanted to mention. When I was here last time in April, we talked about the I'm sorry.
Oh, darn it.
Sorry. Everybody's going like this at me. Like, what does that mean? Okay. That's good. Right back at you. We talked about the small groups possibly stepping up to help the deaconesses with meals, and this just happened in a most wonderful way in October. We were under the gun with one family that really needed help, and another situation came up where they also needed help. And the small group person contacted me right off the bat and said, "We've got this, no worries, we will handle it." That was just music to our ears as we do continue to shrink, the deaconess board shrinking a little bit more. So that was really great. So I just really encourage all of you who are in small groups, and those of you also listening at home, if you have the ability to do that within your small group, it is a huge, huge help to us. And it's also a huge blessing to you within your small group. So I just wanted to mention that. And also, we talked about before someone possibly taking over the kitchen responsibilities from the deaconesses to help us out with large events. That has not happened. However, we have two women who have stepped forward who have specific gifts. They cannot be a deaconess for whatever reason, but they have specific gifts, and they would like to help us in two specific ways, one with the card file and the other with ministering to the men in our congregation who are sick or grieving and usually get something from us. This has already happened. One of them is already in full swing. She has done a wonderful job, and we're just so excited and thankful, very thankful, for these two women who have come alongside and said, you know, I can't be a deaconess, but I can do that. So again, if any of you have gifts that you want to use, perhaps come under the deaconess purview, please come see me or any of the deaconesses. You can talk to us anytime and come alongside of us to help. That would just be great. So those are just the two things I wanted to mention. Any questions for me?
All right, and then like Steve, Amanda has timed out.
I'm timed out.
Yeah, so again, 6 years of dedicated service to the deaconesses.
It's really 12, actually.
Okay. So anyway, so thank you, Amanda, so much. Okay, hold on, I'm going to do it right this time. All right, so next is deacons. Hold on, I thought I did it right, didn't I? There we go, deacons.
Thank you. I don't know if you like history or not, but every once in a while I'll do something kind of strange and read like historical books and that kind of thing, etc. And a few years ago I was reading a particular, it was minutes from a conference from a denomination. And as I was reading through, there were 3 churches that were part of a cycle church that the one pastor was responsible for 3 different churches. And as they gave their individual report, the one church was talking about how God was moving and the church was growing and the ministry was growing and it was so exciting. And the second one came up and said the same thing, okay? And the third one literally said, "We're proud that we aren't growing at all." And I thought, oh my goodness, that's terrible. I just don't understand why anybody would be in that spot. And then it came to me, I'm thinking about all the ministries that we have, which are thrilling, that, you know, we have different things that are growing and things like that. The offering is coming back, the budget, and we're happy about that, and the evangelistic outreach and things like that. And then I thought to myself, the deacons are kind of like that church, okay, in that we really hope our ministry doesn't have to grow a whole lot, okay? Why, you say? Well, because of our responsibilities, okay? If you look at the beginning of Acts in chapter 6, okay, we were exhausted, the spiritual leadership of the church was exhausted, and they were struggling to try to keep up with the widows and the orphans and things like that. And so they picked individuals to be able to meet the needs of those individuals, okay, that way, etc. And then if you go to 1 Timothy, you see the structure of Timothy. It says, what are our responsibilities? Well, our responsibilities as deacons are to minister to those individuals who have an emergency struggle within the needs of the church. So think about that. We don't want those things to happen, okay? So we're hoping our ministry would be reduced, okay? Kind of thing in that regard, okay? But we're excited about what God has allowed us to do because it means that we can come alongside of the people of a congregation and support them, okay? And many times do that in a challenging time, okay? But it is a privilege that we have as deacons, and we thank the Lord for your willingness to allow us to be part of that. So along with my brothers who try to serve that way, we take the funds that you give to us in the benevolent fund, which we just had after our communion today. We take those funds and we distribute them as God leads us to that way. We seek to find individuals who need our help. We specifically target first our congregation, and then after that, we go out and consider the community and reach out to that. And it is interesting that in more recent years, we have had more community-oriented outreach, which is exciting. We always look to see if we have an opportunity to evangelize through them too as well, carrying very closely that line of what's the mission responsibilities versus the deacon's responsibilities, and trying to serve that way too as well. We aren't the mission board, which you'll hear a report of shortly, but we still want to seek to minister that way. Our giving this year was down about half of what it was last year. Thankfully, the Lord has provided for us, and we're still able to serve and meet the needs that have come to our attention. But I would like to take a few moments to make sure that if you do see somebody that's struggling, okay, it is one of those challenges that unfortunately people have, that they don't want to ask for help. Okay, and if we didn't recognize that, please do us a favor and come to us and say, hey, just want you to know that maybe so-and-so might need some help that way too as well, and we'll certainly reach out to them. We appreciate our deacons and their willingness to do many different things, but that's our primary focus and goal that way too as well. So thank the Lord for that. We have our food pantry that gets stocked. It's not really large, but we stock it consistently. And we do thank those of you who contribute to that. The numbers that are listed there have nothing to do with the amount of food that has come in to the food pantry there. But we also do provide an opportunity for the pastoral staff to be able to meet our community needs by giving them cards and things like that too as well. So that's a simple report, any questions that you might have from the deacons. Don't all
questions
go
for
at
Jim?
once.
All right.
Okay,
Jim,
thank
you
you.
so much. All right. From one Jim to another Jim.
Usually my slide is only about 3 or 4 line items because we haven't been able to spend any money. And I usually started out as we're the group that spends the money. So this year we had a chance to catch up on a few of the things. The window screens, I'm not going to read through all of them. The pews, the ice machine, we had to replace that. A lot of painting. If you walk around, you'll see that there's been a lot of that. It's been done. Carpet cleaning. We replaced the cracks and resealed the parking lot, which looks great. In addition, we replaced the lamps for the parking lot lights. After an extensive email guidance from the township, we were able to get them appropriately adjusted so there was no outside interference. So we got those replaced. We also got wireless mics. I've watched over the years as the praise teams come down, the wires are moving, and was waiting for somebody to roll out. Rich Johnson was nice enough to get some wireless mics for us, so we were able to do that.
In fact, one's sitting right in front of you.
Yeah,
Like.
it's great. Yeah. It's great. No wires all over the place. We really like it. And then at the parsonage, we took care of some trees, made a few minor repairs, and paved Judy's driveway, which the story behind that is over the last 6 years that I know of, we've been talking about fix this spot, fix that spot, fix that. We waited so long that we just had to replace the whole thing. So worked out well, our lack of attention to that particular item. So, and in the next few months, again, all we do is spend money. We're going to bring our outside church sign into the 20th century, not quite the digital LED that the 21st century would bring us, but it's going to look a lot nicer from there. We're also going to have, at some point over the next 6 or 8 weeks, all of the carpets in the whole facility will be cleaned. I don't think the upstairs carpets in the classrooms have ever been done, so we're going to get that all done too. So that's about it. We've, again, we've got a few things left. We've been trying to catch up on all of the exterior projects. Gene got our steeple completely replaced. You don't look at it much, but it was about to come down, and it looks great now. Yes?
Are you going to put a light on the outside of the sign?
On
The sign out on the street? You said you're going to upgrade that. You're going to put a light on it?
You mean the parking, the one that goes where the driveways are? Those signs, or the big one? Yeah. Oh yeah. We're gonna replace everything on the inside, so you'll be able to see it. Like I said, 20th century, LED lighting and all. Not quite the bells and whistles of the one across the street, but it will certainly look much nicer. Much nicer. Yes.
I have another question. So in the summer, at a couple of meetings, we spent a lot of time talking about changes in the library and putting sofa in there and getting rid of one of the tables, and it was all approved, and I went in there and like nothing, everything is the same. What happened?
It's a good question.
Still on the table or what?
It's a good question. We weren't, the trustees weren't necessarily involved in what they were going to repurpose that room for. We meet there, but again, I'm not, what they're going to do with the library and all of that stuff. I'm not sure who's running that project.
Okay.
Yes. Perfect. Excellent. Yeah, I think, the space will still transition, just not not really sure what it's going to look like at this point.
Yeah, so for those online, yes, so the question was regarding the, I guess we'd laying out of the library, which is
Yeah.
still in progress.
Yeah, repurpose the library room.
Okay. All right, any other questions for Jim? Jim, I apologize. Are you also timing out? You are, right? I thought you were. All right, so again, wow. So, we're losing a lot of great
Yeah.
leaders here.
And
So
we
again,
have-
Jim's been serving.
We have 3 on the trustee board that are
Yeah.
that are leaving, that are timing out. So if anyone is likes this stuff, would like to join us on the trustee board, we're always looking for help.
Who doesn't like spending money?
Yeah, right.
No, anyway, thank you, Jim. All right, now we're going to close with Donna and the missions. And Barry, too. Okay.
Okay, last but not least, we try to keep you informed about our missionaries and how to get involved and participate directly or indirectly. You can see how we just do that. You've come to luncheons, you've heard mission moments. We send out prayer requests about our missionaries. We do have a separate email list called Missions Moment if you want to get directly news from our missionaries. That's great. So we had 2 Reach Global crisis response trips this year to Kentucky. We've helped with the street church breakfast and clothing drives. And what I failed to put up there, and da-da-da, next year in July, we are going on a missions trip to Portugal. It is up there. It's not on my paper, but I put it up there. Hey. So July 9th to 19th, you will hear more details about this coming in January. Also, I have done my 6 years, and we also lost Kathy, as you know, and Cheryl Smock, so we're all off. And so if you have a heart for missions, talk to our nominating committee because we need some new members. And so Barry and I are co-chairing, but Barry now took over the financial treasurer responsibilities, and she'll give that part of our report.
All right, so before we jump to financials for missions, any questions regarding the missions update?
And here's the budget.
All right, hearing none.
All right. Thanks. So our missions budget for 2025 remains at $130,000. That's what it was last year. We did meet our budget. Giving's about the same, and our giving does match our expenses. We have a little bit of leeway, but that's our budget. We are excited to announce 2 new missionaries we'll be adding this year as of January. Logan and Naphtali Jones will be ministering in Thailand with EFCA, the Reach Global crisis, well, not crisis, but with Reach Global. Naphtali grew up in Thailand. Her parents are missionaries there, and they will be their team leaders. The missions committee had an opportunity to meet with them last week or 2 weeks ago. Wonderful couple. They need to go for training next year. They're planning to go to Thailand in 2026. We'll also be picking up a woman named Mackenzie Nofziger, and she's going to be with SIM. She's going to be ministering in South Asia. So we thought with the congregation here and just how many people in the congregation are from that part of the world, it would be good for us to support people who are ministering in that part of the world too. We also increased our support for Lubica in Slovakia. We have discretionary spending where we have some extra gifts that we used to send special gifts to some of our missionaries, the DeGenas and the Franks. Also, Faith Watts, who we used to support, is doing a temporary assignment in Wilmington, Delaware, and we supported her. We've also given some sponsorships for men to go on street church retreats. Also gave money for our missions teams for Kentucky. Also, we've donated to training for board members and also for our missions lunches. Any questions? And also just to acknowledge that we greatly miss Kathy Lucas. It was, of course, very difficult shock and loss for our committee. So just keep Jeff and the family in prayer. And I'd appreciate your prayers for me too as I try to step into that role, which I've never done before. So, and also as Donna said, we do need more members. So if anybody's interested, we appreciate that. And thank you, Donna, for your service for the last 6 years.
All right, thank you both. All right, so that brings us to the final slide of the night, which is the results of the voting. And so I have the pleasure to report that both our budget has passed as well as all of the nominees. So again, thank you all for those nominees for joining our board. All right, so let me just try to close this. I'll close this meeting in prayer. So again, let's go to the Lord. Dear Lord, we just thank you, Lord, for all the blessings that you bestow on this church, Lord, both financial as well as leadership through our pastors and again our lay leaders, Lord. Again, please continue to encourage and to just provide discernment and wisdom to all of our leaders, Lord, to help us continue to guide this church in a way that will honor you, Lord, and impact our community, Lord. So again, we just thank you for this wonderful congregation, Lord, as church family. And so again, please just continue to bless us this year and into the years to come. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. Thank you, everybody.